A record broken, some Messi magic, and a playoff matchup to finally preview. We have it all this week on the Inter Miami Weekly Show. And welcome to Chase Stadium alongside the Arsenal great Kieran Gibbs. I'm Joe Malfa. And the sun came to play today, finally, after a few weeks in a row of the weekly show where I think it was just gray and pouring behind us. It probably reminded you of England back home. We finally got the Florida sun out behind us here today. And it's great times right now, Kieran. We've talked all year long about getting to this point, getting to the postseason, setting some records. And eventually, it took until the last day. That box was finally checked. The big win over New England, 6-2, to break New England's all-time points record in MLS at 74. It was a great capper to a great regular season, and now on to the playoffs.
It was, Joe. It was a spectacular evening to cap off a spectacular season. And I have to say, I was never really in any doubt. Even at 2-0 down, I thought that the way that they kept themselves calm and composed, it was kind of indicative of the season that they've had. You know, it's not perfect. Sometimes they'll give you a chance maybe early on, but the quality is just too much. And I thought that, particularly in the second half, obviously, they just blew them away. And it's history made. It's history made. It's you have to give them so much credit for that. It did come down to the last day, but the team is full of history makers, and then obviously one player in particular who really put on a show and came on after 50 minutes or an hour and really just showed the type of player and the person that he is, to grab it for his team and take control of the game in the way that he did. Shows why he's the GOAT.
Don't even have to mention the name until the end there where you say go. We all know you were talking about Messi with those 3 goals. We got to jump right into the highlights here because we have 8 goals to show you. It was a long one for our crew to wrangle and put all together. We did keep up the tradition of conceding early against New England and then blowing them out when all was said and done. It was the same thing when we went on the road against the Revs as well. They scored early. We blow them away late. The early goal comes in just a couple minutes sloppy maybe in the early going, a minute 13 off the clock. Then they would get another one early in this first half as well. But from that point on, Kieran, it just seemed like the focus changed and the urgency changed. And from that point on, I don't know that New England never threatened again. And Inter Miami could have scored 9, 10, not just the 6 they did.
Yeah, it was a one-way show after that second goal, and it's a wonderful bit of play, Suarez to keep the ball alive, and in that play there, and Robert Taylor laying it off to Jordi Alba, who's been magnificent all season, and Suarez with just a deadly finish.
And that wasn't even his best finish. It's got to be the second one here, falling away, trying to keep his balance through the legs of a defender and in. I mean, you and I were chatting before we started things off here. I would have probably twisted both ankles if I tried to do that.
It's just the speed at which he gets his shot away after he takes that control to go around the defender. It's just world class. There's nothing. The keeper's not even ready for it. It's a classic Suarez finish. And
then it was nice to see Kramaski get on the score sheet as well. All his hard work all season long. This one was another one of those cases I mentioned. It could have been 9 or 10 goals for Inter Miami in this one. This was one that somehow stayed out, and then Kramaski would get his moment as well.
Yes, and the game was just full of just these brilliant combinations, and here obviously Messi on his first touch of coming on, and a classic Jordi Alba run with the third man breaking into the box. It's Kramaski that gets on the end of it, but the combination play is just way too much for New England to handle.
And from this point on, that's when Messi took over. It was just chance after chance. It's all told in about a dozen minutes he gets his hat-trick.
Yeah, it just became a clinic, didn't it? He ended up just doing what he wants, and I feel for the New England defenders because there's just not much that they can do. The way he wriggles away from players, his accuracy and power is just it's just too much for New England to handle.
And that ball in from Alba, again, it's things that we've seen between these two players for years.
Yeah, the ball movement, the run, the timing, even the finish. I feel, he's through the legs. There's not much the keeper can do there, and it's just it was just wonderful to see these players in action after all of these years, to put on a show like that. on the night that it was just absolutely historic, wasn't it?
Yeah, and that last goal was my favorite there. I mean, the chip from Campana, the acrobatic from Suarez, the tap in from Messi. They were having fun with it. They weren't just winning. They weren't just scoring. They were having fun with it on a night that was a celebration, because you have the supporter shield ceremony on the field afterwards, fans celebrating, players celebrating. All that went into what was maybe one of the best nights in the history of the club at home at Chase Stadium. Obviously, we hope that changes on December 7th when we lift MLS Cup, of course. But for now, that was an all-time night in the young history of this club.
Yeah, and you heard David and Jorge speak after the game about how proud they were of what they built, and rightly so. And these are the nights that they wanted to give to the fans when they started the club. So it must have felt like a fairy tale for them. And the way that they presented the trophy and the speech that they gave, I thought it was a very, very powerful evening and a proud evening for the city of Miami. And they should be proud of what they've achieved. All of the work that has gone into building this team and creating this historic season is... It's not an easy thing to do, and they've gone and done something that, you know, they'll hold on to forever. The club will hold on to this season forever, and it will be remembered for a long time.
Especially to do it at home. Again, last year, the Leagues Cup triumph for that first trophy in the cabinet when we beat Nashville to win Leagues Cup. That was on the road. So, yes, it was fun. Yes, we enjoyed it, but not to this level. To be able to do it at home in front of the fans. And again, we're only getting started here. Everything now leads up to December 7th, the MLS Cup final. Lift another trophy, celebrate again here at Chase Stadium. But this was a nice night, setting the record, beating New England, who used to have that record. All-time special evening, not only for the club, but in MLS, in the history books. And we hope, again, it's not the last celebration of 2024.
Yeah, I think that's also what they said in their speech as well. I don't think we've heard a player or a member of staff, a club owner, come out and speak about this win without mentioning the fact that, you know, they're after more. Yeah. They want more, which, you know, shows the ambition of the club. I think that, you know, anyone that wins the Supporters' Shield is such a big achievement, but to go on and win the MLS is what they have in their sights. You can see that from even the likes of Messi, with what they put out there after the game and said that, you know, it's a great win, they'll enjoy tonight. But the main focus is on the cup. So it's amazing to see that their hunger remains to achieve more this season.
And looking to achieve more next year as well, because another big announcement from the night that was winning the Supporters' Shield and setting the record. Gianni Infantino, the leader of FIFA, was here, and he announced that Inter Miami will be one of the hosts of the 2025 Club World Cup. So if we already didn't have enough to look forward to now with the Audi MLS Cup playoffs and maybe lifting MLS Cup, now we've got the Club World Cup to look forward to next year as well, in addition to CONCACAF Champions Cup next year as well. So it's going to be a lot of different opportunities next year for Inter Miami to have more success and just continue to broaden the reach, not only on an MLS level, but on a continental level in the Champions Cup once again, and then on a global scale with the Club World Cup. So it's just opportunity after opportunity to continue to grow and continue to have success.
Getting spoiled, aren't we? We're absolutely spoiled as fans living in Miami at the moment, especially for the world of football. It's so great to see. I mean, how proud must Jorge and David be of this? It's pretty special, and to think that it's going to be hosted here is just the icing on the cake, really. But yeah, I mean, they've had such a fantastic season. They have to be in contention for being a team of this region. For me, they've been the best team in the league so far. So yeah, why not? And it's going to be a great spectacle for the fans involved. I'm really looking forward to next year.
And no doubt. And you mentioned as far as some of the accolades and the honors for the team, we could also see now coming into award season with Manager of the Year for Tata Martino, Executive of the Year Chris Henderson, MVP for Lionel Messi. I want to touch on that for a second, because there was a bit of a heated debate going on in the media this week about, is Messi the MVP? Is Messi not the MVP of the league? And it sort of boiled down to, well, the team's points per game was just about equal in the games he played and in the games he didn't play. But 20 goals, 16 assists in the 19 games he played. If you go back and watch all those games, even though the points per game are similar, it never felt like this Inter Miami team was dominant or truly special without him the way it was with him. And just going back, some of those big wins we had, yes, we beat Columbus without him at home, but that was also when Columbus was missing players, and it was at a time where we were scrapping for results. And I think both things can be true. The club was really good still without him, and the club was special with him. And for me, that's exactly why he should win MVP and Tata should win Manager of the Year, because Tata getting this team to have the same points per game without him shows how special he was this year and why he deserves that award. And then Messi taking the team to a whole different level when he played shows why he should be the MVP. I just don't understand how there's a question here. 20 goals, 16 assists in 19 games. He was 3 goals off the Golden Boot pace playing half the season. He was up there as the assist leader playing half the season. If he was able to play all year, Copa America injury obviously got in the way of that. This would have been a truly, truly historic season, and I don't really know how you can give somebody else the MVP. You're going to give it to Cucho? No offense to Cucho, but Cucho didn't finish in first place in the Eastern Conference in Columbus, and Lucho Acosta in Cincinnati didn't finish in first place in the Eastern Conference. So I didn't know where the discussion came in.
Yeah, I mean, I think people are always going to try and pick holes, aren't they? But I think you can't deny that he's had an incredible season, his first MLS season. I definitely don't think the manager of the season should be up for question, because Tata's done a remarkable job. That stretch that he had without Messi shows that it wasn't a fluke, and he definitely was. His team selection, the way he rotated, and the way he got those results shows for me why he should be the manager of the season. And then, listen, with Messi, look, he scored an insane amount of goals in the time that he was playing, and I think that for me, it's the way he scores his goals and the way he performs on the pitch. He just manages to capture the hearts of every fan in every stadium. This isn't a normal type of player that we're coming across here, and for him to have come and done that in his first season, had that injury, and then come back. Just to let everyone know that he's still here, to keep doing that, at his age as well. For me, he has to have it. Yeah, he has to have it.
And you take it a step further as far as when he came back from that injury. Let's not forget, when he came back from that injury, we didn't have the supporter shield wrapped up. It was very much a hot contest between us, Columbus, and Cincinnati. He comes in, scores 7 goals in the last 7 games, and clinches the supporter shield and the record. So he came in at the right time and put us over the top. I know, again, I get the argument against it. It's that the team had the same points per game with and without, but it's a smaller sample size. I don't know, as great of a job as Tata did with this group, if you would have, in a parallel universe, taken Messi off the team for the whole season, they're not getting to this point total. In that short span when they missed him and
he scored 20 goals.
20 goals, exactly.
Yes. But also it's the way he came back from his injury. I mean, I saw pictures of his ankle after his injury.
It was a balloon.
I was concerned for him and for the team. But he came back and it was like he had not even been missing. It's so difficult to come back after, even after 2 months with an ankle injury and look and feel the same. Most of the time it takes players 2 or 3 games to get back into that rhythm. I mean, I don't even know how long he scored after his first game back. He just defies logic sometimes, and he defies physics, the way he plays the game. He's a player that's just so efficient in his brain. You can tell that when he's on the pitch, he's looking at what is the easiest and quickest way that I can get this ball in the back of the net. And he's the player that his brain can calculate what he needs to do quicker than everyone else. But he's been doing that for 20 years. Yeah. And so for his brain to just keep doing that for 20 years is like, I think we take it for granted, but it's truly remarkable.
At the end of the day, I just hope that the voters are consistent, because if you manage, as the voting body of the Landon Donovan MVP Award, if you manage to not give it to Messi, then you 100% have to give the Manager of the Year to Tata Martino. There's no way that Messi can't win and Tata can't win. If Messi doesn't win, it means that Tata deserves to win for everything the club did without Messi. Either they both win, or at the very least Tata wins, but they should both win, and I think we can again, maybe have this argument down the line again when those awards end up being given out. What's most important is the record is there, the supporter shield is there, and we're on the road now to MLS Cup, and we've got a playoff matchup with Atlanta. Before I get to that playoff matchup against Atlanta, do want to give a big shout out to the second team, Inter Miami 2 and MLS Next Pro. They this year, for the first time ever, made the playoffs as the second team. It came to an end this past weekend, losing to Columbus, and there was no shame in that. Columbus won the inaugural MLS Next Cup title 2 years ago. They made it back to the final last year and finished as the runners-up. They've been terrific over the 3 years of the existence of this league. So congratulations again to Fede Higuain, the head coach, and everybody involved with the second team making it to the postseason, having a great year. And a lot of the names that we've grown familiar with on the first team have come through that team. The likes of Kramaski and Ruiz. Yannick Bright played basically half the season this year with the second team, cutting his teeth, and got that opportunity with the first team and has been a regular ever since. So tip of the cap again to the second team. We're excited for what next year brings. And now it's on to the playoffs for the first team, of course. This Friday night, 7:30 p.m. here at Chase Stadium. First ever home playoff game for Inter Miami, and it comes against an Atlanta team. That's a very interesting matchup because it's never really been a team that we've had success against in recent years. Even this year, we go on the road, we tie. We play them at home. This was right around the time that Gonzalo Pineda was ready to get fired, and they saved his job by beating us here on this field with a healthy Messi. And last year, toward the end of the season when we were trying to make the playoffs, we go there, and they beat us pretty good. So we actually haven't had a ton of success against Atlanta. So you actually have a chance in a year of records and a year of proving yourselves in domination. You actually have a chance for revenge here in this opening round of the playoffs and some motivation.
Yeah, they have. They're one of the teams that have had the upper hand against us over recent seasons. Rich in history of the competition as well. So it's not going to be easy, but especially with the away fixture on turf, you always have that in the back of your mind. So I'm hoping that it's a really strong start here at the Chase Stadium on Friday. First game in history, playoff game in history at this stadium as well, which definitely want the fans to get behind the boys for this one and try and get that advantage early on.
And a quick correction, I said 7:30 for the kickoff time, 8:30, but still get here at 7:30 anyway, so you can party for an extra hour. Kickoff will be at 8:30 here at Chase Stadium. And just a reminder, since this is all kind of new as far as the format, this is the first time that we've made the playoffs in the new format. Remember when we made it previously, it was single elimination. This first round will be a best-of-3 series. So we host the first game here this Friday night. Game 2 will be November 2nd on the road in Atlanta. If there's a Game 3, it'll be November 9th back here at Chase Stadium. You need to just take 2 out of the 3 games. There's no aggregate. None of that comes into play. It's 90 minutes. If still tied, you go to penalties. You have to win 2 out of the 3 games. So in theory, we win 5-1 on the opening night. We go to Atlanta, we tie 1-1, they win in penalties. That's the same thing. There's no, we beat them by 4, so we have the aggregate. It's simply a win for them, a win for us. So whether it's in 90 or in the shootout, just get the win. It's sort of reminiscent of what we did in the League's Cup run to that title last summer, for those of you thinking back. It's 90 minutes straight to penalties. So just win 2 games. If that means a 5-1 win at home and then 0-0 on the road against Atlanta and winning in the shootout, done. We don't even have to come back and play that game on the 9th, but any different combination of the scores will not matter. That's the biggest thing here. There is no aggregate, so don't be thinking, we won 5-1, then they won on penalties, so we're good. There's no Game 3. A win is a win regardless of the score, regardless of the method, whether it's shootout or in the 90s. So something to keep in mind as it's our first time in the playoffs in this new format. But Kieran, now coming into this against this Atlanta team, you also have some other storylines. Tata Martino won an MLS Cup in charge of this team, and Julian Gressel was part of that team as well, so there's ties between the clubs. How much as a player are you thinking back to, earlier in the year when they beat us and we haven't had that success against them yet, versus what lies ahead now in the postseason? Does that come back into your mind, what they did to us last time, or is it new season, playoffs, full focus, like that never happened?
Well, I'm sure they'll be reminded of it because, I would hope that Tata will replay those games to the boys so that they can work out on, what worked and what didn't work. So I'm sure a lot of the boys will have that in the back of their mind. But listen, Atlanta's always a difficult place to go, and it's always a difficult team to come and play even when you're at home. So for me, they need to be focused. I definitely want them to have a good start because it's a playoff game now. We're not in the regular season anymore. There's not that time that you have to regain and I hope that they manage to just have a good opening 20 minutes where they keep solid, because we know that their attacking players are always going to cause trouble to the teams that they're playing against.
Absolutely, and it's not going to be a walk in the park either. I know mentality is, oh, we're the 1 seed, they're the 8 seed. We had about 35 more points than they finished the season with. This is a different Atlanta team, and really it's one of the more difficult teams that we could have drawn to start things off here, because they really struggled to start the year. They end up selling Thiago Almada amongst other players as the season went along. But in the summer transfer window, they had the most expensive player brought in, Alexei Miranchuk, coming over from Atalanta in Italy in Serie A. So they're a very talented team. It's not going to be easy, especially considering in Game 2, that game on November 2nd, you're going to Mercedes-Benz. You're going to have a crowd that's 73-ish thousand when the full stadium is open, as they always have it open in the playoffs. So it's going to be a difficult road. And in this situation, Kieran, who are some, obviously Messi, obviously Suarez, and the big guys, who are some of the other unsung heroes that need to step up if we're going to get to this first round?
Well, I've been so impressed with Julian Gressel this year. We spoke about him, didn't we, halfway through the season, and picked him out as, you know, one of the players, other than the Messi, Suarez, Busquets, players that have really stepped up for the club. I think he's going to be key. You know, hopefully he gets to feature, but he's been, for me, a really efficient player with his set pieces, his final ball delivery, and in these types of games when you need to really kill the game, he's the type of player that can provide that cross, that final pass, and supply the likes of Suarez, Gomez, and those attacking players. So a big day for him. And listen, these games are always won in the middle of the park. So you have to, whoever he goes with in the middle of the park, whether it's Redondo or Gomez or Yannick Bright, you know, Sergio Busquets, I think it's a massive game. These games are won and lost in the middle of the park. So it's for me, it's going to be huge, that battle.
Last question for you, just how different does knockout football feel? I know it's not one and done again here, not yet at least. Nobody's facing elimination in Game 1, but could be in Game 2. How different does knockout football feel from a regular, run-of-the-mill, regular season match?
Well, it's higher stakes, obviously, and finer margins. I think the room for error is a lot less, so you have to be that extra bit concentrated. Things like set pieces and those smaller details always feel bigger in those types of games. So, you know, definitely want the boys to keep tight on those things, especially because you don't want to give any silly free kicks away. Your discipline has to be, you know, we spoke about that many times. Discipline is going to be so important in these games, so it's definitely something that I want Tata to remind the boys of, because it's I mentioned it a few weeks ago, it could be one of the Achilles heel for us if we don't control our emotions, especially when the stakes are this high. So I think, a combination of those things that you need in order to be successful.
Well, we've arrived at the business end of 2024. The Audi MLS Cup playoffs are here. We hope you're with us at Chase Stadium this Friday night, 8:30 p.m. for the first game against Atlanta. And remember, we're going to be here at Chase Stadium for the duration of the playoffs leading up to MLS Cup on December 7th. The only game in theory that will be on the road is game number 2. That's next week in Atlanta in this 3-game series. Everything else will be right here at Chase Stadium. So make sure you're with us and having fun. And make sure you're with us every week here on YouTube by liking and subscribing for the Inter Miami Weekly Show.
The 2024 Major League Soccer regular season begins with the spotlight on a team unlike any this league has seen.
1, 2, 3.
Through for Robert Taylor. Robert Taylor, save us up in the goal! On a dominant night for the boys in pink. Message sent to the rest of Major League Soccer.
We have seen what this team is capable of. We've had some beautiful football, but in saying that, we want more.
Miami coming to town.